Have you ever got lost at a hake? A hake? Did I say a hake? I mean a lake. You ever get lost at a lake when you're little? Whether you have or not, I have, and I want to tell you all about this in the story of my life. Welcome to my life, another edition of the life of Joey Arnold, the day and life of Joey Arnold. And I said hake instead of lake, and you're asking yourself, why would you say hake? There's no such thing as hake. There's no such thing as fairies. Oh, don't say that. There are things as fairies. No, maybe they're not, but that's what Peter Pan says. You know, if you say there's no such thing as a fairy falls down dead. If you don't say anything about hakes, hakes won't get mad at you because there's no such thing as hakes. I've never heard of a hake, but why did I say hake? Because I was trying to say Hagg Lake. I got lost at Hagg Lake, which is a lake near our house that we grew up at. Grew up in a house. Not a real house, but a trailer. A mobile home. Manufactured home. Trailer. House. We'll just call it a house. In our trailer park, the Rose Grove Mobile Home Park community. Like trailer park place. We just call that Rose Grove. I grew up in the Rose Grove. It's like a neighborhood of trailers in Forest Grove, Oregon, of the United States of America. And you go out into the country, you start going towards Gaston, you start going towards the lake. And so I was about 7 years old in like 1992, or it might have been 1993, and I might have been 8 years old. Don't exactly know. I always thought I was 7 years old, but I've been doing research on the history of my life, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm not exactly sure at this moment. And I'm usually pretty definite about details, and as a nerd with glasses, you know, I'm always trying to figure these things out and trying to be definite about these things. But at the moment, let's just say I was 7 years old, and we were going to the lake. We were on some bicycles. My father and my brother and my older sister, and not my younger sister, Crystal. She was only like 2 years old, so she's not gonna ride a bicycle a couple miles to a lake. It was like on a Sunday. I remember being at church at the Community Baptist Church, the Cornelius Community Baptist Church. Cornelius is the city next to us, next to Forest Grove, where I was born and raised. So it was on a Sunday, in the afternoon, right after church, after we worship God. Not my dad. My dad doesn't do that. He does sometimes, like on Easter and Christmas back in the day. He would show up a few times a year on holidays, like Easter and Christmas, some of those holidays, and say hi to the people there. But usually he wouldn't. But I would, my mom would, and my siblings would sometimes. And then when they got older, like maybe they would stop. But then my brother never really stopped. And then maybe my two sisters started going back or not later. They kind of stop and then they go back, kind of thing. Some people do that. But it was on a Sunday, and my dad's like, let's go hiking, let's go bike riding. And I was about 7 years old. It was on a I was on a Sunday, and it was sunny. We hop on our bicycles, and we start riding, and then we get there, and I think we had to pay money to go to the lake, because the lake is a tourist attraction or something like that, a famous little lake, the most famous lake in the area. So we go there, and we are still riding our bicycles. Then we go to the side. We start going to the lake. You know, we're on like a road that goes around the lake, but then we decide to go on like a dirt road and start to go towards the actual lake and to go swimming. And then we see this like raft, this like air mattress thing that you can float on. And maybe we had to put my air into it, or maybe it already had enough air, and we go on it, and then I'm holding onto my life because I can't swim. I'm not really that good at swimming, or at the moment when I was like 7 years old, I didn't know how to swim at all. Couldn't swim at all. When I got older, I started learning how to swim a little, and even to this day, I'm not really that good at swimming. It's really hard to breathe underwater. And my dad is like pedaling. He's like swimming and pushing the raft more into the lake, like into the middle of the lake. We didn't actually go all the way to the middle of the lake. It's a pretty big lake. You can almost not see the other side. That's how big the lake is. And I'm really scared, and I kind of have my toes in the water a little bit. I'm thinking about the fish and the sharks that might bite my toes off, and then I'm like, oh no, that'd be like Jaws all over again. That movie, Jaws, with the killer sharks and the killer apes and the killer whales and Free Willy. No, just sharks. No killer whales. No Free Willy. But I'm scared. And we're out there for a little while, having some fun. I had some fun, but I was also scared, thinking, oh no, I hope I don't fall off. And then we go back to the shore, we go back to the land, and we hop on our bicycles and we continue going around the lake. And then they want to go look at something, and they tell me to continue. And then I'm thinking, maybe we're gonna do what we did in our family reunion. We had a family reunion, like a couple weeks ago, before that, or a couple months ago, during the summer. It might have been the previous summer or that same summer when we had a family reunion of people in our family, relatives, like our aunt and uncle Jim and Karen Williams and their two sons, Nathan and Alan. Karen is the sister of my mother. My mother has a sister named Karen. That's my aunt. And then there's the uncle, Jim, that Karen married. They were there. And then my sister has a brother named Brian. So that's Uncle Brian, my Uncle Brian. And then he has a wife, I think Carol or something, Lauren, I don't know what her name is. I can't remember. Even though I call myself the family historian, I don't really know everybody's names. But someday maybe I'll figure it out, or I write it down. And if I write it down, then I don't have to remember because I write it down, kind of thing. Nevertheless, they were there. Brian, the brother of my mother, so Uncle Brian, and their 3 daughters, 3 or 4 daughters. I can't remember how many daughters, maybe like 3 or 4. And they were there. And maybe my grandpa, like the father of my mother. Maybe, yeah, my grandpa and my grandmother, my step-grandmother. Because my mom's real mom died when she was like 20 years old. But, however, we had a family reunion with those people, aunts and uncles, and cousins, and possibly grandpas and grandmothers, step-grandmothers, too. And we were at the same lake. We were at that same Hagg Lake, and we stopped at this one place to go swimming and have a picnic and have a good time, kind of thing. Have a family reunion on a nice sunny day. And here is another sunny day, like a year later, or a couple weeks later, or a couple months later, and we're at the same lake, except it's not with our relatives, our aunts and uncles and cousins, grandparents, possibly. But it's just us, the immediate family of my father, brother, older sister, and we're going around the same lake, and they tell me to go and to keep going because now it's like 6 or 7 p.m. and the sun is starting to go down. Even though it's the summer, and in the summer the sun goes down later at night, like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. at the latest. So the days are longer during the summer and shorter during the winter because of the rotation of the earth, kind of thing. But nonetheless, the sun is still going down, and we gotta go home. And so they know I'm slower because I'm the youngest, so I gotta go first. And they're gonna go down a trail by the lake, by the road, down some dirt trail, and look at some things that are interesting. interesting that maybe my brother is interested in, but maybe who knows what it is, but I'm going ahead, but then I stop at the place that we were at before during the family reunion that we had before. And I thought we would stop here again like we did before when our relatives were here. And that we would have a good time. Even though it's getting late, it's getting late, the sun is going down. But I'm only 7 or 8 years old. What do I know about time? So I stop, and I'm sitting there. I even take off my shoes and socks, and I stick my feet in the water, but I don't want to swim since I can't really swim. But then I look and I see my family, and they're riding their bicycles, and they go past me, and they don't stop, and I'm sad. But I think to myself, maybe I was just seeing things. I'm just imagining things. So I go back to the trail that they were at to try to find them, but I can't find them. And I'm just screaming and calling their names and looking for them, but I can't find them. So I'm just walking on the road now. And I walk towards home. And I think I know where Forest Grove is, and I kind of think it's one direction, but really, Forest Grove is not there. It's just a bunch of forest. You have to go a little farther down the road before you turn. If you turn now, you'll just run into a bunch of forest and mountains. So you have to go a little farther before you get to my city, Forest Grove, where I was born and raised. And then a family came and picked me up. First I was praying. I was praying to God and saying, help me somehow. But then I forgot about it. I forgot that I prayed, and I just walked and walked. I was walking with my bicycle. I could have been on my bicycle and rode my bicycle, and I don't know why, but I was just walking my bicycle because I guess I was sad, and I lost my spirit, and I lost my strength to move on and to pedal my bicycle, to ride my bicycle. Lost my will to survive, to fight, to live another day like James Bond. And then a family came in a car, and don't talk to strangers. And I didn't exactly talk to them, but I did hop into their car. And they had the bicycle. What did they do with the bicycle? Maybe they threw the bicycle in the trunk. Or not. I don't remember. I don't know what they did with the bicycle. But I didn't die. And later on in life, I probably had a bicycle, or my father must have got me a new bicycle or something later on, or we got the bicycle back or something. But whether or not the bicycle was in the trunk of the car or not, I don't remember. But I hopped in the car, and this family had other kids, like sisters, like daughters, yeah, daughters and sons. And we go to a house which is like in the forest, down a private lane, a private driveway, where it says like keep out private driveway. But the family, they live there, so it's private, and they're allowed to go down it because they live there. And we go inside the house, and they're watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the third film, where they go back in time. Spoiler alert, they go back in time, and they fight some people in the 1600s in Japan. And I recognize it because I already saw it in the movie theater with my mother, I think, for my 8th birthday. So I must have been 8 years old. Or I might have been 7 years old, but I'm pretty sure that movie came out in 1993, so it could not have been 1992, which means 1983. Did I say 83? No, 1993. I turned 8 years old. February 11th is my birthday. Each year, February 11th. So it probably was after February 11th, because I'm pretty sure it's the summer. So I'm probably already 8 years old. And they were showing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 film, the live action film where they go back in time to Japan, 1600s, to fight crime, to stop people from making trouble in their neighborhood, kind of thing. And I'm excited, and I'm watching it. it's at the very beginning where the turtles are showing off during the practice and they're kicking nobody before they go back in time. And then the family, they ask me questions like, where do you live? What's your phone number? I say my phone number is 163. That's actually the number of my house. On the top, on my house, on the cover of my house, the front of my house, it says 163. That's the number of the trailer unit. But I thought it was my phone number, because what do I know what a phone number is? How would I know? Oh, phone number has more numbers than just 3 numbers. Couldn't just be 163. So my phone number is 503-357-0477. That was my phone number. Try to call it now, you'll end up calling somebody else. I have a cell phone now, so my cell phone is different. 503-367-4695. That's my phone number now, and has been since 2007 when I inherited that cell phone and cell phone number from my younger sister for some reason. Or my younger sister's friend, actually, kind of had a phone plan. My mother had a phone plan, and I guess she was paying the bills somehow. I don't know where she got the money, because I don't know if she actually had a job at the time. Not exactly her fault, but nevertheless, no money, no things, no toys, no money, can't do things all the time, can't spend money if you don't have money. But somehow there was a phone plan, a cell phone plan with a couple different people on the plan, like my mother, and then my father. I think my father got on the plan eventually, maybe not originally on the plan, but my younger sister, and then some of my younger sister's friends like Janet, Bailey, and Jesse, and maybe other people too. But then some of those people were not like paying the bills and not being responsible. Mostly just not paying the bills, and that's called being not responsible. Being irresponsible is what happens. You're called an irresponsible fool if you don't pay the bills, and then my mother has to go and take the phone from you and you can't use anymore. And then I come home from college, from Bible college in West Virginia at the Appalachian Bible College, and I get the phone. The phone, came from like my sister's friend, or my sister herself, or something, my younger sister, or her friend, and I inherit it. And then I get my own phone number, and I still have that same cell phone number. And I kind of had a different number too temporarily, because I bought a phone card here in Vietnam, in Saigon, Vietnam. But I don't really use that other number, so I'm not really going to tell you about it, because I'm not really going to use it, only if I have to. But back when I was about 7 or 8 years old, most likely 8 years old, in the year 1993, I did not know my phone number. But somehow, even though they did not know my phone number and they just knew my house number, but they didn't really know what neighborhood I lived in. They didn't know I lived in Rose Grove Mobile Home Parks of Forest Grove. But somehow they call the police, and the police already know, because my parents already called the police, and so the police just have to put the two things together and connect the dots. And then my father was able to hop in the truck of our neighbor Katrina and Teresa, or something like that. We had neighbors, Kathy and Katrina, and their parents. They have a truck, so they came in a truck to the random house in the middle of nowhere in the forest and picked me up, and that was good. They saved the day. I was no longer lost. I was lost for like an hour, or maybe longer than an hour, maybe a few hours, on a Sunday night. And it was already dark when they came to pick me up in a truck. And they probably got my bike and threw it in the back of the truck, in the truck bed. Which means, hey, I can continue to ride a bicycle now, and it's not the end of the world, and I get to go home, and That's good, but it wasn't the last time I ever got lost. And I get lost every once in a while in my life. I just get lost, and I'm known as the person that get lost. That gets lost. I either get lost physically speaking, or just lost in the head, and kind of thing. But either way, it happens sometimes. And that's my story. I was lost, but then I was found. I want to hear your stories. Have you ever get lost? If you have got lost, let me know what it's like to get lost. Do you get sad? What do you do when you get lost? How do you find yourself, or who finds you?